Yeah. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. I wanted to talk about these reports down here. Um, as you're trying to maintain, I'm not sure if I can get those to appear any better. That'll work. One of their features of they included in the Zoom release was to put a green bar around the outer edge, which cuts off part of my screen. So couldn't see the pluses here. If you're wanting to generate reports based upon your database, so you're trying to maintain your database, maybe you're trying to see where things are located at. Sometimes we use the filters up here, and we could locate the items that way. But if we didn't have the filters, I could come up here, clear the filter. There was a ton of tables, and to scroll down through and trying to find out where's the table you just created was kind of a challenge. Let me apply that again. What's that? It's a good question. If it'd work against that, there's a let's see. Control it doesn't work on that. Mine doesn't do that. Yours works though? Oh, okay. And you can actually find your tables with that. Oh, that works out good. And what do you push again? Right. Oh, really? Yeah. When I push my F in, that's the function key. I don't gotta find. So what in the world's it running when it does that then? Probably looking right at it, but I sure don't see a search on this. That searches help. So like if I search that, it'll bring that up. Hmm. Oh well. Let me apply the filter again to that. So down here, you can run various reports. Some of them just list objects. See, like down here, there's analytic view reports too here. And I couldn't tell you what most of these reports are. They've never sent me away for Oracle training. But if you are wanting to manage your database, you don't wait till your database becomes too huge for it to crash and so forth. And so you monitor all the important items. Not all of these, I'm assuming, are equally important. Um, um, don't even know what those are. Okay. Now down here is where you get into your objects. This is what I've more familiar with. Um, for example, the all objects here, test DB, and that brings up all of your objects. Indexes, packages, even more than that, tells you who the owner is. Um, because if you have 10 users on your system, this is just a single user we're using here, but this is uh, what you'd be using in a production sense. So you'd have more than one owner, perhaps. Then you come out here, you can see when it was created and so forth. Even more than that, you can right click on it. You can choose export. And the format here, if you do the drop down on that, you can put it into Excel format. Tell it the location, users, Hayes, okay. I think all that's just fine. Next. Data objects. Okay, finish. I probably should have paid more attention when I was running. It was under David Hayes, wasn't it? 416, 938. Yeah, that's it. And so you can bring it up over here, do whatever kind of searches or sorts, so forth you want. This is just a listing. This doesn't give any kind of statistics like how much space something's taken up or anything. What do I call it? My sales or my sales that we created. I have no clue what that is. SQL. Now it gives you. I can't see the side over there, but 71,679 objects in that database. So quite a bit. You can see that Oracle has a lot of system tables, packages, whatever you might think, triggers to keep everything running smooth. I take it a while to know what each one of those does, doesn't it? Probably no way you're going to master, what every every one of these is. You don't have to. Ones you interface with, you can research and so forth. Now, that's our all objects, and you see there's these other options here. Collection types, dependencies, invalid object, invalid. Let's do invalid objects. That might be an interesting one. Boy, those look familiar. Those are the ones I created, weren't they? I wonder why they're invalid. Who knows? Are you back? Object count by type, so you can see how many there are of each different type. Um, let's see, how do I sort by that? Sort by owner. Sort by type. Sys is our main one over there, and you can see all the different ones they have there. That's interesting. There's two Java sources out there. I've never played with Java in Oracle. Wonder where those would be. Well, you see here, this got a little circle with colors. So this gives you a graph, gives you a breakdown. There's tables. Tables right there. Object count 2,187. Java classes. Total of 38,067. Java is just integrated in so many places. That's why it's a number one skill you'll see listed in dice.com. You can see it's a huge part of not just the sources like they're saying with two, but this is a huge part of the product. Application Express. We haven't used that. Database administration. Alert log. Here's all the issues that are coming up. Some of these probably more important than others. Some of them may be routine ones. But this is something that a database administrator would look at. At Koch Industries, KOCH, had a total of about 110 people in IT. We had three database administrators that all they did was monitor the database, and they created the databases too. But they would look out here because again they were looking for things that caused the database to crash, and some of these are just look like just routine. Don't see any buffer clash, flush started. I don't see anything like saying out of space. Those would be more issues you'd want to pay attention to. If I come down here to all tables, and let's see, statistics, most rows. And then I could sort by, oh, it's already sorted by rows. Never mind. So this shows you the ones with the most rows. Again, all of this you can download to Excel if you want to look at it. Statistics. Rows, average row length, table type. Storage. Tables by table space. Part of this tells you how much space is taking up. And somewhere in here, and I don't remember where it's at, but there's a visual representation of this. And I was never too good at this. You had to allocate when you created a table, you'd have to allocate a table space it had to be on. And you had guesstimated how big the table was. And if the table grew beyond what could be in that particular space, and you had to allocate new space to it. Now, I never did that portion. I just got yelled at when I screwed it up. So I'd have to put more space on for like system or whatever you might have put it on. Now these, if I had to guess, are probably just not too diverse. But something to keep in mind. You can see how big it's growing. Can export it again. So it tells you how big our mine sales is. We only got a few records in it, so it wasn't too huge or anything. Let's see, triggers, cursors. So again, if you wanted to find out information about what you've created with cursors, you can go out there. Everything is stored into a table. So you can see the cursors here and what you've set up. If we were to look down here, somewhere would be the cursors that we created. Try to think if we actually created a cursor. Exactly. Yeah, attaching it to the because putting them over here is not the same as creating them over here. I don't think we ever created over here, did we? Yeah. I'm drawing a blank on where it would even be. I'm not seeing cursors right here. But yeah, we probably wouldn't see ours in there then. Memory, dynamic memory, uses feature requires. Okay, I'm not licensed. Never mind then. Again, all these they monitor to see what needs to be adjusted. Just because you're out of space doesn't mean you're done. You just maybe need to allocate more space and so forth. You can see data dictionary, PLSQL, line count, search source code. Security. Grants and privileges, object grants. Grant is where I give rights to something to somebody. So if I wanted to see what's been granted after the fact, then I can come out here and do the appropriate search. What if you can actually find highlight? Okay, there is a find there. Role privileges, system privileges, streams, table, columns, comments. Okay. Some of this we haven't done anything with, but that's the reports. Haven't really mentioned anything about them up to this point, so I thought I ought to mention them as we're getting toward the end here. So if you're operating blind sometimes and you can't find where you put something or what you named it, and I actually did that before the semester started. I created a table and I didn't remember what I called it. I started browsing through one by one, and it's like, oh, this isn't going well. If I had not created it under the default user, I had like created a new user for me to get in here, then I could have located it pretty easy. Okay, so we talked about tables, talked about views, indexes. Remember we created some indexes. By the way, I'm covering this for a reason. Like I said, I could type it out as we're doing it. It's final exam time. Final project time. And I want you to, and if you want to do it within your test database, that's fine. If you want to create a new test or a new database, that's fine also. But I want you to create 2 new tables. And it should be based upon, and if you got a different idea you want to do, that's fantastic. But here I search for toilet paper on Amazon and see all the different things they have here. So I want you to create it based upon some kind of order screen. Now Amazon has a lot of detail, so I don't necessarily expect you to have all of this, because right here, this is one record. Now within the one record, then this could be in a separate table. How many? 10, 20, 30. Now that could just be a column like your quantity, but it could be that it's in a separate table. Now what makes me think it might be in a separate table is you see how they say from one seller and from one seller? That almost implies maybe that it's by quantity maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen how their database is set up. This is probably like a text, describing. So this would be like one column that you create. Where's that picture? It keeps popping up. Get down to here. have a question. There's no questions in this one, but if you've been to some of them, you'll notice that you can have multiple questions. That's a one-to-many link to a questions table. Product description, probably that's in the same table. Might be in a separate one though. Sometimes I put in a separate one so that if you had 100 different types of toilet paper out there, and they all needed to point to that. Well, this wouldn't make any sense, that example. Probably not in a separate one, but it might be in a product description table. This might be in a product's detail table. Even though they're one-to-one links, sometimes they separate them. Makes it easier to do reporting and so forth later on. Here's customer reviews. There's only one customer review of toilet paper. I'm not sure why anybody would rate it in the first place, but maybe they're rating who they bought it from. But again, you could have multiple ones. I could have 100 ratings, which means that's a one-to-many link. Very soft toilet paper. I'm 100% happy with my purchase. It's too much information. Okay, so like I said, you don't have to create something for everything on this, but you should at least have five columns in each table. Now we created views, so I want you to create 2 new views. Now, by the way, when you create these, to export them, like this one here is the one of them we created. You right-click on it, and you see there's an export feature, and it'll export it. See down here, .SQL. Index. I want you to create 2 indexes. We create packages. I want you to create 1 package. Now remember, within a package, you have your header, your interface part right here, and then you also have your body. Now you only have to have 1 function or 1 procedure in it. If you want to do more, that's fantastic. So 1 function or 1 procedure. It does not have to be something really complex. I'm not telling you it has to be something, where you create a pie chart of this, and you say, how in the world do I create a graphic and so forth? Yeah, sure enough, these do have errors, don't they? Must have been planned and not changed them back or something. Remember how it told me I had invalid objects? They were right. I want you to create a procedure. And again, your choice. It doesn't even have to be related to the order. It'd be nice if it's related to the order, but sometimes that might be kind of challenging to create it. Create on procedure. Create one. That might be kind of challenging. Functions here. I'm not sure if we actually created a function here, or if we all did them here, but I want you to create a function. I don't think you have any problem with that. Operators we never did anything with, and actually I don't remember ever creating one myself. Queues we never did anything with. Queues table never did anything with. Triggers we alluded to, but I don't think we actually created one. Triggers would be something that would run like every time you do a drop on a database. Then it would do this. Trigger would be where you create it, where you and you see it's calling a procedure. Let's show that new trigger. And then you tell it this information. There it is. And this is your base object. So you do it based upon the sales. And every time a delete is done, then you can do something. So like every time you delete a record, I wanted to call a procedure, for example. Maybe the procedure would be such that it has to delete the count in another table, which wouldn't be a good example. But maybe you want to delete records in another table so they don't get out of sync. We had that at, and this wasn't done in Oracle, or was it done in Oracle? It was done in Oracle. We just weren't doing Oracle right. But we had, I know this is going to sound weird, but we had an email header table, and then we had the email detail table. And then we had like a sender table. The problem is that our email system wasn't very reliable at that time, and emails were getting lost. And so a salesperson would send an email to potential customers saying, I'm glad you contact us. I'm happy you want to buy 100 spectrum analyzers. I just want to get back with you and set up a time we could meet or talk or have dinner or whatever. Customer would never receive that email. And of course, obviously they were quite upset about this. I forget what we were using. I think we used Pegasus email for a while and some really hokey email systems. Then we finally went to a good one. I think we went to a Linux-based one. But they said this isn't acceptable. We can't be losing emails we're sending to our customers. And so what we did is we had a separate place where they'd put in their messages and that they were going to send to an external customer. And they would put in who was on go to and so forth. So this contained the header information. It might sender. Yeah, that's right. This might contain who it's from. It might contain the subject. I don't remember why we had this in a separate one, but this is your body of your email. And then we'd send that to Joe at sales.com, and we'd send it to, that'd be one record. And then we send to David at cars.com, Frank at house.com, whatever. Somehow, inconsistencies would occur in the table. Like there'd be a header but no detail. There'd be a header but no sender. And what we could have done is we could have used triggers such that if because we couldn't figure out code-wise where it was occurring. We could have used triggers such that they delete a header. Like if they delete this right here, what else should be deleted? always. Corresponding detail and corresponding sender, right? Why would you want to leave the detail and sender out for an email header that's gone? If I delete the detail, well, I'd want to delete the header and maybe the sender. It all would depend upon how you wrote the program initially, but we could have used this to clean it up. As it was, we just did SQL statements looking for we did joins where and I can't remember what now, inner joins, outer joins, but we did joins to show us the records didn't have a corresponding header or things like that. And then we would manually clean it up through SQL, which wasn't the most efficient, but it was supposed to be a temporary solution anyway. I think after a year of this, I think they finally went to a better email system. But anyway, that's what triggers are for. Types, we looked at types, but I don't think I'll make that part of the final project. It's kind of useful, but sequences, I don't think we did anything with. Materialized view, don't think we did anything with. View logs, no. Don't think we did anything there. Directories didn't do anything with. Additions. Okay. XML schemas didn't do anything with any of that. So I guess that's in terms of the final project. Not everything. Like cursors is not most everything. Cursors is kind of challenging, I think, because it works directly with that, and I didn't want to put cursors in there because I'm gonna have this due in 2 weeks, so I wanted to make it reasonable to finish during that time. Now, let's see, where was it? If I go down to scheduler here, see there's jobs, and if I click that, see it comes up here. If I right click on this and choose new job or new job wizard, let's see, my job description, testing, type of job, PLSQL. This is, in case you're wondering, because we really didn't talk about this. Okay, I write this PLSQL. How can I run it? I want it to run every night, and so forth. So you can see here's the different things. You can run a script, PLSQL block, immediate. You can run it once, repeating. If you choose repeating, and then repeating interval. You can have it every year. So you got to run once a year, once a month, once a week, daily. So I can run it daily, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is a really cool scheduling feature. What time you want it to run, so forth. When do you want to start it? When do you want to end it? If there is a starting and ending date. Job arguments. I don't remember this from when I scheduled. It almost looks like you can send an email, doesn't it? Recipient, sender, subject, body. So I guess you can send an email to yourself. Where did I do this? I think I did this one time and I shut it off real quick. Because I wanted to know every time they inserted a record or did something, because I wanted to make sure that they were using my system. and I was receiving an overabundance of, so I quickly shut it off. Um, it wasn't the smartest thing I did to have an email sent, but that looks like what that is. Properties, restartable, job style, maximum runs, okay. Summary, and then you click finish. And see, and I don't remember this graphical view right here. That's changed from when I used it last. But anyway, that's scheduler. Let's see. There's a view up here, data modeler, and we won't be able to go into this much, but browser. Yeah. Thought I could select that and it might come up faster. But navigator. I thought one of these would bring up the graphical view of it. This brings up the navigator. Then I thought it would bring that up so I could visually see it. Doesn't look like it. Browser just brings this up. Up. Down here. Maybe this is what I'm looking for. Okay, logical model. Right click, create display. Unless it's just going really slow. That doesn't update that. Somewhere there's a way to bring up the visual view of your database. But I'm not seeing it now. Let's see what else there is. Data miner, I've never played with that. SSH, SQL history. Because that's ones I've done. I suppose that'd be nice if we try to figure out which one to use last class. That would have been really nice. Tell me which ones. Let's see. Processes, properties, recent objects, reports. I think goes here. Yeah. Tools data modeler. Maybe I was in the wrong place. Right there. Yeah, it's still not bringing up what I'm thinking. Database export. I had considered this. I had considered just you having doing the database export, but I thought it'd be so huge it just caused me more headaches. So that's why right clicking and exporting I figured would be better. Migration. I never have played with that. Um, fine. I thought this would be. It looks like it just you can take it from a different version of Oracle. I thought it would be other database types here, but obviously not. Offline. Let me choose offline. Uh, hmm. um, so I wonder how you bring something in from like another database, like Access. Might be an import feature over here for that. Unit test, data miner. Now, the part that I haven't played with at all is when you got this right here, and you right click on some source code. There's different things you can do here. But if you would do the run up here, there's a feature here that implies that you can go in if you've used this in other IDEs where you can go line by line and you can inspect values and so forth. But it doesn't work on this. Maybe if I my procedure, maybe if I actually had a procedure down here. Oh, there it is. So a procedure here, you can put a breakpoint. That's our toggle breakpoint. And then how do I debug it? Debug. like that. Like I say, I haven't played with this, but I saw that and I thought, well, you can go through it line by line. Looks like. Um, did I hit the debug? Connecting to the database. Try running that. Let's see, test, real, no editor. 5 test num colon equal to test num plus 7. Okay, so I got my breakpoint in there. Nah, I don't know how to do the breakpoint. But the idea on it would be that you can examine your variables and everything while it's running. Usually they're all the same. You have to click that, and then you either choose debug or run. Debug is the logical one. But then it just runs the entire thing and doesn't actually finish. Oh well. But that feature is there. And it could be I have to actually run it from an SQL. So maybe I have to run it from over here. My test 2. Doesn't like that. Completed successfully, but still didn't go in debug. But that feature is there, so if you're going to do a lot with PSQL, that'd probably be worthwhile digging into to figure out how to step into it. We've got 5 minutes. Oracle SQL developer breakpoints. The debug session starts and stops at the first breakpoint. That implies I'm doing everything right, but it's not working. Back, save file from file, reset. No, it just doesn't want to honor the breakpoint. It could be because this is the free version. um, but that's usually how breakpoints work, is you just set your breakpoint, you run one of these two options, then it kicks out the code here, and you can examine your variables down here. Oh. I guess that's probably all exciting stuff there. I'm not very good with Git. Does everybody know what Git is? I should mention that. We got a few minutes here. It's kind of a repository. So I could put my code out here, and then people can, I think it's called clone, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but it's where you can take their project and bring it down to your computer. So it's kind of a source sharing, though it looks like it's for databases too. Um, like here's a Xamarin platform for developing iOS and Android applications. And here's all the repositories that correspond to that. Now, some of these looks like just little bug things, but some of them be code that they could put out here. Text editor. An open source code editor for the web written in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. This is what I was trying to find earlier. Remember how I was trying to find the source? I was just drawing a complete blank. But if I come to the source here, then this contains all the source files they use for their particular program. Now you have to probably know where folder-wise to look for the actual source, but it looks like they have help files along with this. They have all kinds of different items. Now, in the process, you don't have to sit there and download all this, so I think you can. It's somewhere that I think there's an export. Actions, issues, purposes, watch, fork. There is a way to download the entire project. here, when they're talking about tools and they're talking about, where was that? Maybe it wasn't under there. Window. I saw Get somewhere. There it is. This is so you can share. And I don't remember a clone if that puts it out there or gets it. Um, Probably puts it out there. This wizard to help you to clone remote sources into a local Git repository. Okay. Um, it's remote sources. Of course, I don't have anything to, but this would get it in that format. Now you can create your own, and that's I think what fork is that it takes this and then you fork off and do your own thing, your own changes to the code and so forth. Um, I and I never could, I would never was successful with it. But there's a LMS called edX, and it's you can take free classes out there if you want to expand your knowledge on computers for free. College level classes are put out here for free. Um, and this software right here is what we use to power it. And for a while, I until I told them I couldn't do it anymore, I didn't have the knowledge. Is I was maintaining the edX software for a place called World Quant University, and I had to download this basically and compile it on the server. And well, I could do that just fine because Git makes that pretty easy. I'd have to research what in the world I did to get to that point. But I couldn't make changes. All I could do is download this, and they wanted changes off of it. So if you want to access open source that's meaningful, like here, edX, this is where the these courses are I was talking about. And again, colleges are the ones that put this out here, not some kind of Joe Blow operating out of his basement. But if you want to run edX on your own computer, you could. You set up the Git repository and download the project, and you're up and running. So anyway, it's kind of source sharing if you want to think of it in that form. Although it's much more than that. Well, this is the final project, and I'll copy it up here. I'm out of time, but I'll copy that up there. So that'll be what you need to have done. The final project is due on the 30th, so 2 weeks from today. I will be on online next week to answer any questions you have over old projects. So if you're still working on something from the past, you can turn anything in from the beginning of time. But if you're struggling, you can't get something to work, then I'll have you share your screen, and I'll see if I can figure out what you're doing wrong on that. But we're down to the end. Don't leave anything not turned in. I can be pretty lenient on, if you don't got things quite working, but you kind of got the idea, I can be pretty lenient on grading on that. But if you turn nothing in, there's nothing to be lenient on, and it just turns to a zero. So turn something in on everything. So, questions or anything? Um, yeah, that should be no problem. Because just how you call it from up here is the only difference. So yeah, that's fine. Um, well, it'd be embedded in your package. But yeah, Yeah, kind of the right idea. And you could do that with a function too if you wanted. Because remember, a package can contain a procedure or a function. So you could put both of these inside that package. Yeah, some kind of ordering screen. Right. Yeah, if it's a string, if it's a a varchar two, or if it's a quantity would be a maybe an integer or number five or something like that. Um, Now, in theory, you wouldn't have two tables. I would guess probably off that Amazon, there's probably five or six tables involved there. But I didn't want to get too complex with just giving you 2 weeks. Yeah, that'd be fine. What other questions? Yeah, zip them up since there'll be multiple SQL files there. No, the table, when you export it, you can put it into an SQL. And that just shows me the setup. It doesn't download the data, and that's fine though. But yeah, everything in SQL. Yeah, you do. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.